Hi, friends. Welcome to the Hey Fundraiser podcast. I'm your host, Mary Petersen, and whether you're a frontline fundraiser, an executive director, a board member, or someone just wanting to make an impact in your community, this podcast is for you. We cover all facets of fundraising, and our main objective is to give you ideas and inspiration to help you raise more money. Join us as we grow, learn, and make an impact together. Hey, fundraiser. So, on today's podcast, I want to talk about something like a question that has kept major gift officers awake at night since the beginning of time, which is, how do I know when someone is ready to be asked for a major gift? And if you've ever thought, I don't want to ask too soon, I don't want to ruin this relationship, I don't want them to feel surprised, I don't want to look too pushy, fundraiser, I got you, I see you. So in this episode, I am going to give you my top 5 signals so you can stop guessing, stop delaying, and start moving forward with confidence and integrity. Let's start by setting you free from the biggest myth in major gifts. You do not need to be 100% sure that someone is ready for a major gift. So if you're waiting for certainty, you're basically waiting for a signed notarization letter from the donor that says, "Hello, Mary, I hereby confirm I am ready to be asked at Tuesday at 2 p.m. Now, that is not how humans work. So what you need is evidence. You need signals, clues, patterns that are going to let you know when your prospect is ready to be asked for a major gift. Major gifts is a relational process. You gather information, you listen, you test alignment, you earn trust, and then you move toward a commitment at the speed of the trust in which you have built. And also the ask, it's not like a trap door. It's not a cliff. It's a next step. And if you do it well, if you do it with permission-based fundraising tactics, your donor is not going to be shocked. They're not going to be offended. They're not going to be thinking, how dare she? They're going to be thinking, yes, this makes sense. I want to make change in the world. This person is offering me an opportunity to help make that change. So yes, I would like to make a major gift. So today I want to give you the signals that tell you this donor is ready for a commitment conversation. Okay, it's a bit of a checklist. So I'm going to give you 5 categories of readiness signals. You don't need every signal in every category, but you do need enough evidence that the relationship has traction. So category 1, let's talk about engagement signals. So these are signals that they're leaning in, not just being polite. You want to look for things like they respond to you without chasing them 5 times. They take your meetings, your calls, they answer your texts. And in those meetings, they actually happen. They don't get rescheduled every other meeting. They ask you questions about the work. They want to know, like, what's new with the programming, what change has been made, what outcomes are happening. Like they're leaning in. Like they stay on the phone with you longer than planned because they're so engaged in the conversation that you're having with them that they don't want to get off the phone. Or they open your emails and they actually reply with something more than thanks. So a donor who is ready for a major gift solicitation is engaged. They're actually an active participant in the relationship that you're trying to build. So here's some example lines that you might hear. And these are dreamy, by the way. Like, pay attention, listen for these, and enjoy them when you get them. Like, tell me more about how that works. Or what's the biggest need right now? Or how are you measuring success? I mean, this is engagement. It doesn't even get bigger and better than a prospect or a donor who is leaned in and engaged. Okay, so category 2, values plus alignment signals. This category is about whether you've connected the dots between what your donor or your prospect cares about and what you do. So readiness signals here include things like they use personal language, They say things like, this matters to me because fill in the blank. They share a story with you, or they actually tell you the reason why they care so much. They express emotion. I mean, it could be concern, it could be hope, it could be pride, it could be a myriad of different emotions, but the key is they're expressing them. They also name outcomes. They say things like, I want to see more kids reading. I want more families to have access to food. I mean, things like this. So when you're listening, you're going to hear, here are some examples I've heard. I've always cared about this because of what my family has gone through. I mean, you probably have heard that too. I mean, if something hits close to home, you have a program that helps people who are going through a similar situation. Values are aligned. When they start sharing values, you're moving toward that readiness. So pay attention for all those things. Okay, category 3 are like capacity signals without being weird. Okay, we have to measure capacity. We need to know that this person can actually make a major gift. So we're not stalking, we're not guessing, we're simply paying attention to the indicators. So capacity signals include things like they've made a stretch gift before, like to your organization or to an organization down the street, but you know they're a proven philanthropist. They have business ownership. They're in a leadership role. They have visible assets, right? A beautiful home. They might own a plane. I mean, who knows? Or lifestyle indicators. You know, they're going on a quarterly vacation, or they're about to get on a cruise for 100 days and sail around the world. Other signals would include they talk about giving in very meaningful terms. I mean, it is part of their life. It is part of their being, and they want to take their hard-earned income and make it a difference in the world. Or they're also, this is a good one too, they're also in circles where philanthropy is normal. So they're hanging out with people who are also philanthropists. And, you know, I just want to add here, capacity doesn't mean they're a billionaire. Capacity means they can give at your major gift threshold without it being financially burdensome. So when you're listening to prospects and donors, you're going to hear things like, we've been thinking about doing something bigger this year. I've heard that a lot. So that's capacity and willingness. So when you are starting to hear things like that, this is a good signal. Okay, category 4 is timing and urgency. Sometimes the donor is ready because the timing is right. It just happens like this. So you're going to look for things like, you know, hey, it's year end and I'd really like to have a conversation about a gift. Or sometimes it's tax planning comments like, you know, I've got a pretty heavy tax burden this year, and instead of giving it all to the government, I'd like to make a gift and cut down on my taxes, things like that. You're also going to listen for life events. I mean, people sell businesses, they receive an inheritance, they retire. I mean, these life events are also signals of whether to ask or not to ask. Hey, fundraiser, before you sign up for another fundraising conference where you might leave with a good tote bag but zero strategy to raise more money, let me invite you to Major Gift Momentum. This is my private coaching group where you'll get weekly coaching calls with me, access to my full Major Gift curriculum, and a community that's actually moving the needle. Major Gift Momentum isn't based in theory, it's based in action. Members are closing 5- and 6-figure gifts within 3 months of joining. Heather just closed a $245,000 gift. Jacelyn just closed a $212,000 campaign gift. And Georgette just got a $500,000 commitment.
all within 3 months of joining Momentum. Each of these Momentum members didn't think the donor would give that much, but once I taught them my method, they are raising money at a whole new level. So would you like in, fundraiser? If you do, go to heyfundraiser.com/momentum and let's get started.
They also mention reviewing their giving plan. So this is something that I've heard throughout my entire career. It always has surprised me, really, when donors come to me and say that. They're kind of doing the work for you. Now, not that you want to wait for them to say those words. I mean, I probably heard it once a year over 25 years, but they're really thinking about things, and you've been this present person in their life and this outlet for amazing philanthropy. So they're going to come to you. The other signal is legacy conversations and like family conversations. So you're going to hear people say things like, we're making some decisions about where to allocate our giving this year. Or, we've started doing some estate planning, and we're really thinking about some of the organizations that we love so dearly. So when you hear that, your next move is not, great, I'm going to send you a newsletter. Your next move is, can we talk about what an investment would really look like? Okay, so category 5, ownership signals. This is my favorite category because it's where donors start acting like insiders. So here are some of the signals that you're going to hear. They start using we language. How are we going to make this happen? How are we going to tackle this? How are we going to curb, food insecurities? I mean, whatever it is, the we language, fantastic. Or they start advocating for you. I mean, it could be as simple as they're forwarding emails, or they invite somebody else in, or they say, I would like to introduce you to my friend who also cares deeply about this mission. They offer introductions. They offer to help solve problems. Like, hey, I'd like to, I know you've been struggling as an organization with this thing. I'd like to come in for half a day and like brainstorm solutions with you. Or they want to see a plan. They leave the heavy lifting of problem solving up to the nonprofit. But when the nonprofit figures out those solutions, they're thinking, gosh, how could I now fund this solution? So you're going to hear things like, what would it take to fully fund this? Or how can I help? And listen, if a donor is asking, what would it take? They're basically holding the door open for an ask. So mini story just popped in my mind. I was once working with a fundraiser who was telling me that a donor had told him, I want to do something significant. And that fundraiser replied with, that's amazing, I'll keep you posted. And I was thinking, oh, fundraiser, like this is your moment. That was your moment to move forward into a commitment conversation. So as you're meeting with people, as like you, in your mind, you might think, okay, I've got this whole cultivation plan. But sometimes donors are going to throw us a curveball, and they're ready to be asked maybe sooner than we thought. So they're going to say things like that. I want to do something significant this year. What are the big things that I can get behind? At that point, fundraiser, you need to pivot and get toward the ask. And it can be as easy as, I'd love to put together a menu of options for you. And let's meet next week to go through it. Okay, so switching gears a little bit, because I want to talk to you about the bridge that makes asking for a gift feel natural. So this is where permission-based fundraising really comes in. You don't really go from, how's your summer, to, will you give $250,000? Like you have to build these like micro commitments in the relationship before you get to that $250,000 ask. So here are 3 permission-based pre-ask scripts. So I want you to pick one that fits your style and use it in the next 2 weeks. By the way, just so we all are calibrated on permission-based fundraising, huge fan. It has helped me close major gifts quicker and in a much more meaningful way than any other tactic. So if you take anything away from this podcast, permission-based fundraising, it is the way. So what is it? It is when you agree to next steps with your donor or prospect before you end a conversation. So you're at lunch, and in your mind as a fundraiser, you're thinking, okay, I'd really like to get this person in for a tour. Like that's the next step. So before you leave that lunch, you say to this prospect, hey, can I follow up with you next week? Because I would love for you to come in and go on a tour. And they're going to say yes. So you want them saying yes to these micro commitments because they get used to saying yes to you. And then when you go to ask for a gift, what do you think they're going to say? They're going to say yes. So before you end every touch point, you need to agree to next steps. And so what that does is it keeps the relationship moving forward, but it also keeps you on track, fundraiser, which I don't know if you need that. I have needed that in the past. Okay, so script number 1, the temperature check. So it could go something like this. Based on what I've shared with you over the last few months, I think there could be an opportunity for you to make a really meaningful impact in this particular program that I know you care about. When we meet next time, would you be open to talking about what an investment could look like? So what that's going to do is, first, most likely they'll say yes, in which case you go back, prepare a proposal, and schedule the meeting, and then come back with an ask. And you're 90% there. They know an ask is coming. They're not going to be shocked. The other option is that they say, gosh, now is really not a great time. I love your organization. I would love to make a commitment. Could we revisit this in 6 months? Because I've got kids I've got grandkids in college that I'm trying to pay off, or I just made this big investment and I've got some funds that are tied up for the next 6 months. So they're going to save you from an awkward no if you just ask off the cuff and you don't know that all that's happening behind the scenes. So either way, it's a win. Okay, script number 2, which is more of like the alignment bridge. And it goes something like this. I'd love to show you a couple ways donors are stepping in to make a real difference with this program. So can I walk you through what that would look like and get your reaction? So what this does is it's a pre-ask, but you can tell very specific stories of other donors who are coming in at the giving level that you're hoping this prospect will come in at. So they're going to react like, oh, wow, that's too big of a gift for me. I love what they're doing, but I really see myself more at this level. Again, you are saving yourself an awkward negotiation later by making a little bit of a pre-ask and telling them you're going to come back and ask them. Okay, script 3 is the choice invitation. And that is where you're kind of asking permission to have the conversation. So you don't want to ambush, you're guiding essentially. So you could say something like, there are a few options at different levels that would create the outcome that I know you're looking to make in the world. Would you like to see them and tell me what resonates? So this is a beautiful thing because if you have a menu of all of the ways somebody can plug in, and by menu, I mean like a one pager, like a gift of 250,000 will do this. A gift of 100,000 will do this. A gift of 50,000 will do this. And you have them by program, then people will point out, like, I see myself at this level, or they'll say, this is the change I want to make. I need to figure out how I can get to this $100,000 level. So if they say yes to that, then you move to the ask conversation with confidence because they've really agreed to it. So we've talked a lot about, all these ask, readiness, signals. Let's talk about when a donor is not ready. If you start to see or experience things like they're avoiding meetings, they take weeks to respond to you, they can't really articulate why they care about your organization, They only engage when there's an event or a crisis. They say yes to meetings, but then cancel, or there's just not a lot of follow through, or they seem surprised by like basic information, meaning maybe we haven't built enough context with them yet. So if you see these things, you do not want to ask for a gift fundraiser. We need to kind of go back. We need to spend a little bit more time building trust, educating, and see if they're really the right prospects for us. I mean, if we need to bless and release and move on to other people, then that is okay. So if you find yourself in some of these situations, right, where people are canceling, they're just non-committal, you sit down with them and they talk about the local humane society that you don't work for. Like, if you do sit down with them, here are 3 discovery questions that are my top 3 questions. This is going to help you understand, 1, if this person should stay in your portfolio, but 2, if at some point in the future they may possibly make a gift commitment. So, 1 is, what inspired your very first gift to our organization? Most times that's a very meaningful experience. I mean, it could be, if you work at a hospital, it could be, I gave a $1,000 gift back in 2001 because I had this experience with a nurse that changed my life, versus, oh, well, all my friends are giving, so I thought I'd make a $200 gift. Big difference there, fundraiser. Okay, so second question that I love is, when you think about making a impact in the world and partnering with our organization to do that, what kind of change matters most to you? This is going to cut right to the quick, because they're either going to say, I don't see myself partnering with your organization. I'm into the environment, or I'd rather do work with animals, or I see myself in healthcare, or I care about education, or, whatever your organization is not, they're going to start to talk about that. And then, it's time to bless and release. The other question that I love asking, and it really helps you understand if this is someone you want to go through a cultivation cycle with, is, what would make you feel most proud about your philanthropy this year? I mean, it's a deep question, but it's a question, it's a thinker, right? They're going to need to think about their answer. They're going to tell you what it is. I've often had people say, that's a really big question. I need to think about it. And most people will get back to me. A couple of days later, they'll send me a note or a text. And so it's really gets to the point of, what is your philanthropy centered in? And once you know that, you can create the experience that this particular prospect needs. So those questions create a sense of readiness. Okay, so we've talked through readiness. We've talked through permission-based fundraising. We've talked through, wanting to know if this person is ready for an ask or not. Let's look at some readiness scoring. So after your very next donor call, I want you to score your phone call a 1 to 5 in these 5 categories. So 1 being, they're not very engaged, and 5 being like, okay, wow, they're really aligned. So 1 is engagement. Like, where does this prospect fall on a scale of 1 to 5 with the very last meeting or call you had with them? Were they leaning in? Were they asking questions? Were they, sitting at lunch on their phone? Second is values alignment. Score 1 to 5. Do you feel like this particular prospect has values, and those values can be played out through a partnership with your organization? Third, capacity indicators, right? Like, can this person make a major gift? So you may find that all of these are 1s and 2s, except capacity. They're super wealthy, in which case, fundraiser, they don't have enough affinity to stay on your short list. Fourth is timing and urgency. Like, do they want to make change in the world that's aligned with your organization, and do they want to do it soon? Or do they think about their giving more as like, well, I'm going to do all my giving in my estate? That's a different solicitation strategy. And fifth, do they have ownership? Like in your meeting, like, could you score them a 5? Like, they were using we language. How can we change the world? How can we change this program? Or were they not so committed and not so much wanting to solve the problem that your organization solves? So on your next donor call, score it from 1 to 5 on engagement, values alignment, capacity indicators, timing urgency, and ownership. If they're strong in 3 or more categories, they're likely ready for a permission-based pre-ask conversation. If they're strong in 1 and 2 categories, just keep cultivating with intention. And if they're weak across the board, that's a triage conversation, right? Like, maybe they don't belong in your major gift lane right now, and that is okay. I know it's hard to kind of bless and release some prospects, but you need to focus on the prospects that are going to get you to your goal. You meeting your goal this year, fundraiser, helps propel the mission forward of the organization. It's of utmost importance. So if you want the full system that ties all of this together, so the right portfolio, the right cultivation tactics, the right readiness, how to ask for a gift, like, you should really consider watching my Momentum webinar. It's free. It's a 60-minute webinar. It's pre-taped, so you can actually watch it right away. And it's going to walk you through this 4-part method to build momentum around your major gift program. All right, fundraiser, go ask with integrity, go ask with permission, and go ask when all the signals are there. I'll see you on the next episode. Hey fundraiser, thanks so much for being here today. Did you know that we create a special page for each episode that contains helpful links, episode highlights, standout quotes, and freebies? Check it out in today's podcast description. If you loved what you heard today, would you kindly give us a rating and review? It really helps other fundraising professionals find our Hey Fundraiser community. I'm Mary Petersen, and thank you for listening.